The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of ParaX, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Merry meet and merry part, bright the cheeks and warm the heart. For tread the circle thrice about, to keep unwelcome spirits out. Bide within the law you must, in perfect love and perfect trust. Mind the threefold laws you should, 3 times bad and 3 times good. These 8 words the read fulfill, and ye harm none, do what ye will.
Welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Now, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
Well, merry meet everybody, and welcome to Stirring the Cauldron. Now, tonight we're going to be talking about inviting angels into our lives with author Kathryn Hudson. Now, she's a certified angel therapist practitioner. She's a Reiki master and teacher who offers workshops and talks all over the world on transformation, angels, crystals, soul purpose, elementals, and mana initiation. And her latest book is Angels into Your Life, or Bringing Angels into Your Life. Sorry about that. Kathryn, welcome.
Hi, Marla. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, it's a good book. I had to have you. I mean, just that simple. It just, makes sense. And so the book, it offers assistance and support from the angelic realm. Tell us a little bit about that realm.
Absolutely. So really a shout out to the publishers, because Inner Traditions has been so supportive of my work in all of the books that they've brought out. And especially this one, but the other 2 as well, which they kind of came out in that grouping, are all about accessing this angelic help for different aspects of our lives. Mm-hmm. So just to be very clear about what I'm referring to when I talk about angels, if I'm using the term simply angels, that would be the guardian presence that's accompanying each of us. We're not just dropped off here on planet Earth and abandoned. We are accompanied from the beginning. We are born with a certain intention, and we are accompanied through this lifetime. Whether or not we're conscious of it, that's another question, but we are accompanied from the beginning through to the end of our mission Earth, if you will. And so what I like to point out is that sometimes we have an idea that angels are beings, otherworldly beings that kind of go back and forth between us and God or Source or the universe, whatever term you'd like to use for all that is. And in fact, it's not so. We are much more powerful than we think we are. Don't require intermediaries once we wake up to the fact that we're powerful. And so angels really are a portal to a direct connection with that, which I call Source. So our guardian angels individually accompany us. And in the book, I talk also about certain archangels. And when I'm talking about certain archangels, each of the archangels expresses perfectly a divine quality. So if anybody's ever said, "Oh, dear Lord," my mother used to say this all the time. She was Irish and very dramatic. "Oh, dear Lord, give me strength." Well, that's Archangel Michael. Or someone seeking healing would be responded to, would be calling forth Archangel. Excuse me, I've got a little thing in my throat, Raphael. So I go into the roles of the different archangels in the book, but the point of it really was to put into writing and therefore render accessible something that I've been teaching in person in workshops in Europe and in the United States, well, really also in all over the world, how to open ourselves up to that higher connectivity that can bring us guidance and clarity and more joy and peace and love within this lifetime in our day-to-day. So that's why inviting angels into your life, I like the idea that we don't have to go it alone. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I was told, I grew up in the Bronx, so it was toughen up and go out there and kick the doors down and kind of, nobody's going to help you. But the truth that I found out later was that, yes, there is help. Hallelujah.
Yeah, I mean, and I was going to mention that the question was, if we were born with a guardian angel and then one that sticks around with us all our lives, but we can call in other ones. I mean, it's kind of like guardian spirits, the same thing. They say the same thing. You're born with a guardian spirit and they're with you. But if you need help from somebody else, you can call in and go back and forth. So, it's a good clan. That's maybe a good word, but we always have people around us, basically. Beings around us. And
that's right.
But what are some of the ways that angels come to us? How do we know? I mean, okay, so we know we're talking about it now and we're telling people, but how would they know that they were having one around them?
So there are very typical things that happen so frequently, it's almost cliche, but it's true that it can be very helpful, certainly at the outset, when we're starting to open up and wonder, well, gee, what about me? Do I have angelic beings around me? There are very, I hate to say generic because they are kind of miracles. And so generic isn't really the right word. But for example, you might be seeing signs. And what can the signs be? The signs can be feathers in unlikely places, feathers where there shouldn't be feathers where there are not birds, or a feather of a particular brilliance, or one that you're feeling drawn to. It can be coins in odd places, sometimes flowers. Really, they can go so far as to be very unique. It can be numbers that repeat. I will say this, you can know a sign by not only just, seeing a physical something or other, but also by our body's reaction to it. So our eyes fall on a feather or something else that catches our attention. So it breaks us from our, from the mind wandering all over the place. It brings us into the present moment, and only in the present moment can we be in this interaction, this true interaction with the divine. And so we're stopped short on our day. We're struck by this sign, and the body might have pins and needles, or you might get it warm, or you might feel a rush or a flush of energy. And then very often, so the physical body will actually respond to a sign. Your heart might go a little faster, or our hair stand on end, but in a good way. And then I like to add that the mind chips in to the confirmation, because very, very often, especially at the beginning, we're going to see a sign, have a reaction to it, a physical reaction. So that's the first confirmation. And the second confirmation can be counterintuitive, because it can often be that our mind will start arguing with us that it couldn't be a sign. So for example, the head could say something like, well, of course there are feathers, there are birds, on this planet, or, why do you think you're so special? This is just a feather like any other. When the truth is that it is not so much the object, but our reaction to it that is the true sign. So I love to say, if your head starts arguing against the experience being a sign, you can be absolutely certain that it's a sign.
I like that. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, so angels are all around us, and they do step in sometimes when necessary, whether we realize it or not. Some people have said that in terrible happenings, they saw a guardian angel, and the angel saved their lives, for example. But I think everyone has seen an angel or two, and just doesn't realize it, because not all angels appear with wings, harps, and halos, do they?
No, that's absolutely right. My understanding is that they do sometimes appear with those accoutrements, that bling, if you will. And my understanding is that they appear with those facets specifically when it's important for the person who's seeing them, who's witnessing, that it would be important for the person to understand that it's an angelic presence. So to not be so very afraid, but absolutely there are angels all around us, and whether it's something that we might see a brilliant light that has no logic, or we might truly see the light within a human form, a human delivery system, which is what happened to me when I was working in a bank in Manhattan, and a woman angel came into the bank in the middle of Manhattan, 42nd Street, across from Grand Central. And she walked right up to me and handed me a crystal. Back in the days when crystals were not everywhere, and delivered a message. So it's important to recognize that the more that we expect that angels come in a particular form, the less likely we're able to recognize. So the more open we can remain, anticipating, like a child at the holidays, like a kid on its birthday, anticipating, waiting, excited. That joy stuff is great energy for attracting these interactions. And the only prerequisite to attracting the interaction is asking. So even if we're asking them tongue in cheek and we don't believe it, that counts. So it's people ask me all the time. I just ask, and then watch and see what happens, because always the answer is yes, always. When you're talking about tragedy, those are the situations where the angels intervene without an invitation from the human, because it's important in terms of the soul's mission. So they needed the saving at that moment.
Mm-hmm. You know, I had a question the other day from a friend who asked me, who my guest was this week, and she wondered what the difference is between our spirit guides and guardian angels.
I love that. And it's funny because I was going to say it and I didn't. And I just love how the synchronicity, the flow brings us to these important points. So I do like to be very clear. I mean, I was a banker for 22 years. I came to France to open up a branch of a bank that doesn't exist anymore, Wells Fargo, Wachovia before. So I'm a pretty grounded person, even though I teach about angels and fairies. And so I like to be clear about the language. So angels would be an expression of source that do not individually have this path behind them. They have never incarnated. So this is source taking form to facilitate connection, whereas spirit guides will have their own historic behind them. They're the same in the most important way of all, that they too are expressions of source. They too are the highest. They too are alignment with the guidance that will bring us through dark times. But very often our spirit guides will include those who have voyaged through the Earth zone and other zones. And so they bring that richness of terrestrial connection, the material, historic of those beings, legendary in some cases, add. And so when we are attracted to, no matter whom we are attracted to, whether it's from our culture or not, a teacher, a guide, let's see, Buddha, Rumi, Hafiz, whoever it might be, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, there goes the Irish Catholic in me, but whoever it might be, if we're attracted, those too are our spirit guides.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes we come into the game with a set, and then as we move along the path, others come in to join the team. You said a clan. I think that's a perfect word to use. I use team very often, but really it's that. So there is no place that God is not. There's no place that Source is not. And so all are one. So their similarities are more important than their differences. The mechanisms that we use to open up to angels are the mechanisms that we use to open up to those higher frequencies in all forms. And then spirit guides are those which have been agreed upon before we come into the game, before we come into this life. We already at a soul level have a connection with these beings. I'll stop there. Is it clear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and somebody just made a comment that so maybe one day we can be spirit guides, but we'll never be angels.
Yeah, well, I already know I'll never be an angel. That's all right. But absolutely, there is a moving up, and in this way, sometimes you hear people say, "Oh, your mom passed. I'm sorry. Now she's an angel. Now she's watching over you." Well, sometimes these are truly happenings, being watched over from guides from the other side of the veil happen. With fully realized guides and also with guides that are still journeying from lifetime to lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, once you're over there, all sorts of things, new things happen, and you got exploring and you want to know what's going on. So, they keep really busy. It's not that they just sit there and twiddle their thumbs. They've got a lot to do.
Absolutely not. I'm sure you've had people like I have who say things like, "Well, I don't really want her watching me." and it's really it's not like we're on a TV screen and being watched, but rather there's this overarching love and care and concern. But truly, as you say, the soul has its own journey. In those circumstances, the soul has its own journey to continue. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's, something to look forward to. I mean, because it's inevitable. So we might as well have to have something to look forward to in that area.
Absolutely.
All right. So the term guardian angels is what many people believe to be the only type of angels that we can interact with. But there are other types. And with the exception of the angel of death, maybe people defer to the stereotype angels with the wings and the halos and the harps and all that. But there probably is some angels that might not be nice. And are there some that we should try to steer clear of?
So here on Earth, there's darkness and light. Mm-hmm. Here on Earth, there's the whole range of lower frequencies to higher frequencies. And so there are beings that we definitely should steer clear of. Mm-hmm. Those beings can impact people negatively. It's what happens, for example, sometimes I'll meet people and they're having trouble because their channel opened, but they don't know how to handle it and they're being preyed upon. That actually happens. The way around it, the way to address it is, I hate to say it, but pretty simple, but we aren't taught how to do these things in school. So somebody who's a sensitive, if it opens prematurely and they don't know how to handle it, it could be difficult. I would not call those energies angels because I use the definition of pure source, no incarnations. So we're talking the highest, we're talking 0.0, we're talking love. But it is true that there is no place that source or God is not. Behind all of the interactions on the earth, darkness and light, there is no place that source is not. And so I don't know about you, but that has always reassured me ever since I realized it. And so while I would not call them angels, often their actions with us, their interactions with humanity, push forth the evolutionary agenda. So often, isn't it true that we can have difficult periods and yet we look back and say, well, finally, I can actually say that it was for the best. I definitely wasn't saying that when it happened, but now I can see it. And so are there angels to avoid? I would say no. Are there entities to avoid? I would say yes. And are those entities truly bad? Well, we can experience their presence as very negative here on the earth plane. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So can we ask to be shown who they are? I mean, can you say, I know you're here, but can you show us? Can we see what you look like or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do these Zoom classes, and we open up to our guardian angels at the very beginning always. Often the first interactions are based on and use our gifts of clairsentience, so clear feeling, before clairvoyance. More people, in my experience, more people have easier access to clairsentience than to clairaudience, that is clear hearing the angels, or clairvoyance, seeing the angels. And so I always start people off with clairsentience, but very quickly, when we're not looking for a visual experience, those visual experiences open up. Yeah.
So do they just, pop over and for a minute you see them, or can you actually have a conversation face to face?
The first thing I want to say is that they don't really have a face.
Okay.
They take on a face, just like those that would take on wings or a halo or whatever we would need to feel comfortable with these interactions. We can absolutely have conversations with them. It's what I do in individual sessions. I act as intermediary. The person poses a question and I hear the answer and I transmit it. When we have this channel that is our heritage, well open, when we have the habit of it, the communication can be very simple. And in those instances, every instrument, that is, every one of us has an instrument, the body, physical, mental, emotional, and energetic, that we're living in this lifetime. That's our instrument. Every instrument plays differently. So some people will have a facility for seeing, and they might see the face. They might see a bright color of a certain hue when it's the guardian angel, and another hue when it's Michael or Raphael, for example. There will be others who will have the capacity that's strongest of feeling, and you might feel a certain way in the presence of the guardian angel and a different way. It's absolutely the case, although all of mine are open now, but in the beginning I had only that clairsentience, and I felt absolutely different in the presence of my guardian angels versus the presence of Archangel Michael, for example. So the invitation in the book, and I do cover it, I cover it in all my books because gosh, we should teach this stuff in school, is to get really comfortable in our bodies and start to recognize that our bodies are giving us information all the time, and that these magnificent bodies that we have are seeded from above. SEEDED. That is the grains and of all that we need for this lifetime and to communicate with our angels is already in us. And we can open those gifts just as so many of us closed them at the beginning of this lifetime.
I'm going to jump around because there was a quote in the book that made me kind of think a little bit, because you talk about having an open heart and that makes us more powerful. But I know people who, when they open their hearts, actually seem to get more vulnerable at times.
Yeah. And isn't that the way? Think about a child coming into the world. We come in wide open, the heart's wide open. And it's only through interaction with human beings that so often, many of us, most of us, are forced to shut that down or close it up or modulate it, depending on who's around us. And so we close our heart that is to say the flow of love through us, we close our heart only through fear. And when we've been hurt in the past, that fear of being hurt again is what diminishes our flow. But if we live in that state of, I'm not going to risk again because I got hurt before, whether it's conscious or unconscious, so often it's unconscious, we are, in fact, already not powerful. We have shrunk ourselves. We have diminished the possibility of living fully the life that we came here to live. So what I would argue, and what the point is in the book, and I talk about this a lot, it seems like it doesn't really make sense. Opening up further actually it does bring us into vulnerability, but our vulnerability becomes like a superpower. That is to say, when we are fully open, we're operating at a higher frequency, and we move out of the neighborhood of the people that live with us. Yeah, it's like literally we're moving into a different frequency, moving into a different dimension. I like to liken it to a neighborhood. I grew up in the Bronx. I now live in France. Nobody in the South Bronx can hurt me now, or any place. We're just not in the same neighborhood anymore. So we're not coming into the same experiences. We're not running into the same experiences that we had maybe with different people, but the same experiences, just different faces. So the automatic response is to close our heart, but it took me years and years and years to learn that, in fact, it's the opposite that is the most freeing, and that allows us to move into a different experience on the earth plane.
What do you think people need to know and gain from this book right off the bat? I mean, because there are people that are going to be saying, well, I don't know if there's angels or not, or, the purpose of writing this book was
to teach people how to open up their own channel to connect with angels. And it's simple. The exercise is in there. It's in every book that I've written and every class that I teach. And why? Because nobody told us that our physical bodies were actually conduits to connect with the highest. Even if you don't believe in angels, and really, I mean, who does? I mean, we tell children angels exist, and then by the time you hit your teenage years, it's no longer, you don't talk about that. But anybody who does this exercise has a direct experience. I've had friends who said, I only bought your book because, it's you, and I just want it to be nice. How these things.
I've heard that before, yes.
But it scared the hell out of me. Why? Because they started the exercise and they didn't think anything was going to happen, but something happened. And so the whole purpose of this book is that individuals have that experience, that people start to unknowingly at first perhaps, but that people start to reclaim their own power and start to remember that this life is magical, and that they are much more powerful and much grander than the world has told them.
So how did you learn about the channel and how to work with it?
So, I told you I was in the bank, and that woman came in with a rock, which was just crazy. I was actually hungover that day. I had been out really late. New York, everything closes late. And when you're doing a job that's not made for you, but you're trying to force yourself to fit into it, sometimes a sensitive person will turn to auto desensitizing, let's say, and anesthesia. So for me, it was, I'm Irish, so, drinking just came naturally. And I was particularly hungover that day. And this woman came off the street in Manhattan. I'm looking at the rock. I have it in my hand as we speak. And this is 25 years ago. And she came directly up to me in the bank. And I was trying to dodge working that day, so I was hoping she would go someplace else, but it didn't work out. So I extended my hand and said, "Welcome to the bank. I'm Kathryn Hudson. How may I help you?" And she did not take my hand. Instead, she put a crystal about the size of my palm into my hand, and she said, "No, I'm here to help you, and this will help you with your addictions." Shiver me timbers.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time in my life, I had a sharp tongue. I learned how to defend myself, not physically, but with words when I was a kid in the Bronx. And so for the moment, for maybe the first time ever, I was struck silent. And my head was racing, trying to figure out, what's going on here. And then finally, ding, I thought I got it. So I lifted my head, stone, to look the woman in the eye, to tell her, "Excuse me, ma'am, this is a serious place of business. You don't come here to sell your stones." I thought she was trying to sell me this thing. She was already at the door. So someone I've never met before or after, and I write about it in all my books in all of the languages, hoping that maybe, somebody pops up again.
Mm-hmm.
Left, was not there. And I was left to my own devices with this rock. That was the beginning of my journey. It's like I needed to be knocked upside the head, as they say in the old neighborhood. And It was a rock that did it. It was an amethyst besides, which is my birthstone. And it's just that was a moment.
Yes.
A moment. Yeah, and I needed it. I definitely needed it because I had gone full numb out. So many people do not need rocks upside the head. I did.
Whatever works. And we're gonna have to take a break right now. And I'm just gonna say that we're gonna talk about the way the book is broken down into 4 categories when we come back, and we'll delve into the pages. So everybody stay tight, and we'll be right back.
Stirring the Cauldron will be right back, so don't go away. If you end up with webbed feet, remember, you've been warned. It's double the cauldron, double the fun. Parax brings you back-to-back hours of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. First, at 8 p.m., Parax digs into the vault to bring you an encore edition of Stirring the Cauldron. That's 10 years worth of amazing guests, interesting subjects, and all the fun from your favorite show. Then at 9 p.m., Parax presents an all-new hour of Stirring the Cauldron as Marla explores the paranormal realm with brand new topics and all-new guests. It's double the cauldron, double the fun as Parax presents back-to-back hours of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. And it all begins 8 p.m. Thursday right here on the Parax Radio Network.
Hi, Barry McGuire here, inviting you to come along with Marla Brooks, and let's start stirring the cauldron together on Parax.
Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks, Thursdays at 9 o'clock on Parax. Sometimes good intentions aren't good enough, and we need a little help to make it through the workday. Some people pray. Others put their noses to the grindstone. But now, you can take a different path and resolve workplace issues in a magical way. From the author of the Ghost of Hollywood series, Workplace Spells, Everyday Magic on the Job, by leading author Marla Brooks. This easy-to-follow magical spell book will help you get past those pesky job-related hurdles. Whether you're new to the craft or a seasoned practitioner, you can make magic happen. Workplace Spells, Everyday Magic on the Job by Marla Brooks would make a great gift. Ask for it at your local bookstore or order online through schifferbooks.com, Barnes & Noble, or Amazon.com. Workplace Spells, Everyday Magic on the Job by Marla Brooks. Order your copy today.
Hey everyone, it's Marla. If you like tonight's episode of Stirring the Cauldron and the archive podcast as well, take a look at the show's YouTube channel and check out the dozens of shows that are there just waiting to be heard. New shows are added each week, and while you're there, why not subscribe? It's free. And if you click on that tiny little bell icon at the top of the page, you'll be notified when new shows are available. Just go to youtube.com and then type in Stirring the Cauldron Parax, and the link will appear. just like magic.
Welcome back to Stirring the Cauldron. Once again, here's your host, Marla Brooks.
And my guest tonight is Kathryn Hudson, and we're talking about her latest book, Inviting Angels into Your Life. And as I mentioned before the break, we're talking and breaking down the categories of the chapters in the book. We've got preparation, we've got the archangels, we've got energy and angelic healing, and the next step. And so let's start with preparation. And in the book, you explain who's who and what's what in that part of it. You talk about opening the channel, and I'd like to talk a little bit about opening the channel. I mean, what does that entail, and can everybody do it? Because, people don't think they can. I know that we're all born with the abilities, but some people just scoff at that. So let's talk a little bit about opening the channel.
Great. So completely in alignment with you that everybody's got clairvoyant abilities. So what is the channel? The channel is a channel between earth and sky, a channel between the human person that we are in this lifetime and the eternal form that our soul would express, a channel between all that would be at the origination of that soul, so the highest frequencies, some say God, goddess, source, universe, whatever you would like, and of course, angels and archangels, as we spoke of just earlier. So the channel is opening up our capacity, our heritage, to connect to who we are already. And who we are already at the basis of us, at the heart of us, already is connected to source, already is connected to the angels, already. We come into this game already with a facility for love, already with the capacity to recognize goodness around us and love and angelic assistance. The world most often causes us to shut that down. So when we see people scoffing at angels, I mean, I can understand it. I would have thought I would have had some choice words for myself if the me of 30 years ago met me today. I don't think I ever would have believed it, and it would have scared me enough to keep me on a bar stool. I fear, because it's moving out of what's considered normal, whether we're miserable or not. The normal that we know is more comfortable, we think, than that which brings us out of the normal and into the unknown. So the first step that I usually talk about when I'm teaching is to bring people to recognize that their channel is already open. Everybody's channel is already at least minimally open. Why do I say that? Well, think about, what do we do when we have a headache? We place our hands on our head. And a stomach ache? Oh, yeah, I put my hands on my stomach. And if the elbow hurts, we already place, everybody places our hands. Nobody told us to do that. We place our hands naturally where we have pain. And that is to say, there's a part of us that knows that we have a capacity for healing, and it's through our hands that we bring it forth. So that is absolutely us channeling energy, divine energy, to bring ourselves some respite from pain in this lifetime. That's the first thing. The second thing is when you walk into a big room, so that's clairsentience. You walk into a big room, say you're at a cocktail party, don't know anybody there, just noticing, wow, I'm really drawn to that person, and whoa, I definitely don't want to go near that person. So why is that? Those two people could be even dressed similarly, but we feel drawn to some people and we feel not drawn at all to others. Or we might meet somebody and we meet this person, it's like, wow, gosh, it's so weird. I feel like I've known you forever. Those moments are soul meetings. Those moments are recognitions of a life that is bigger than the life here on earth where we maybe haven't met that person prior to that moment. So there are things that are considered normal that don't take us too far into scary land, that can start to help people recognize that they already are being guided by that part of us which is more vast, that part of themselves which is more powerful than anybody ever told them. So I like to warm things up with that already. And then moving into, okay, well, why not rubbing our hands together and starting to feel energy between them and recognize, okay, so that's invisible, but it actually exists because it's palpable. I can trust it. Okay, so yeah, so when we're opening the channel for people who have not done any of it, it's often good to diminish fear by doing steps that they already are unaware of maybe, but they're already doing instinctively. And then playing with energy to start to get more comfortable with it, realize there's nothing scary there. And then what I would say is the opening the channel exercise in this book, which is a creative visualization, but it's basically giving our okay to be supported by the earth and supported by the heavens. That would be like the next step.
Mm-hmm. So it's just trying to get everybody who doesn't believe to believe, or just at least open your mind before you open your channel, right?
Well, I absolutely don't think it's my job to get anybody to believe anything.
No, true.
But I do know that the people who are attracted to my work are ready for it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's not in everybody's lifetime that these things open. Some people are here for very specific missions that have nothing to do with this. But those that are attracted to this work and this book, for example, or any of my online or live work, I know that they're ready for this. It's like a flowering. It's like the seeds are already there and it's already germinated if they're crossing my path. So it's time for flowering. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that makes sense. All right, so let's talk a little bit about part 2, which is the archangels. And there are 15 in the book.
Mm-hmm.
And you've really made it quite simple to understand and everything, because you explain like who we should call according to their individual divine qualities. And you offer their colors, their energy signature, chakra, their crystals, all kinds of things. I mean, but the important thing, I think, is that they have to know that there is no importance of ranks for angels. You say that in the book. And so for those who might think calling on an archangel or ascended master would be out of their league, that's not the case, is it?
Oh gosh, no. Boy, did you put your finger on it. Yeah. No, we're children of source and sacred beyond anything anyone has ever hinted at. And so the angelic realm is here to assist and help us while we are in this forgetful place of the earth. It's very funny that sometimes I see people wanting to say, well, archangels are more important than angels, and put them in a kind of a pecking order. Isn't that very human of us? Or very earthly? In fact, it's just the roles that are different, what their purposes are that are different. And indeed, anyone that we're feeling curious about, if we're feeling curious about an archangel or about our angels, that is a call. That's a call on a higher level. Yeah.
Yeah. I grabbed the book for a second because I want to read what you have for each angel. I mean, as an example. And unless you can do it right off the top of your head.
I can.
Okay. Well, let's go with.
Go ahead.
Let's go with Michael. I mean, all right. So what's the colors, the crystals, and all that?
Yeah. So with each of the archangels, and I just want to preface it by saying that there's a lot of information given about each of the archangels in order to make us more comfortable with calling upon them. But it's important to notice that some people will experience, because our instruments are very different, some people will experience certain aspects differently. For example, blue or a strong violet is the color that's most associated with Michael. So there's a consensus around the color that would appear for those who see color. But I've also met people who see a golden color. I've met people who see a white. So what's important is not the color that's described, but your individual experience. That said, I do give sort of consensus information. So the quality of Michael is the power and protection of God. We can seek him out until our own power protects us sufficiently. The color, as I mentioned, most often blue, sometimes indigo or purple. So often there's a heat signature. When the energy is around, we feel very warm around Michael. The chakra most connected to Michael, well, it's the seat of power. And so it's our solar plexus, the third chakra. A crystal that one can call Michael's crystal would be sujolite, which is less well known, but it is a light worker's stone and so connected to Michael. And so I went on to say that other aspects for those that have come into the earth plane on a light worker mission, that is to bring light into the darkness and to facilitate the transformation that's occurring as we speak. And like you with this program, a light worker can rely on Michael as kind of a boss, but the best boss imaginable, not that other kind of boss. So giving us the wherewithal, rendering the path smooth, etc. He's also known for helping and facilitating with all things technological, and for me also plumbing. I wrote about it in the book. I didn't want to write about it in the book, but at any rate, there's a helpfulness to Michael that is very, very hands-on. There have been books written about it, other than mine, and really, this is the boss that everybody could idealize, because present insofar as we call upon him, and working behind the scenes all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So for each of the archangels, I tell a story, a different story, something about my personal connection with them, just showing how it can be lived out kind of in the day-to-day. And then at the end of each section, there is an exercise, a specific exercise where we actually move the body to connect with the specific archangel that we call upon. It should be noted that the ritual that is there is not the only way to connect with Michael, but it's a very powerful way. This actually came from Michael himself. And so the exercises in themselves, just by trying them, can bring that channel more fluid and more open. One good way to do those exercises is to read them out loud and tape it. I know nobody tapes anything anymore. To use the phone and take the sound down and afterward listen to it, so that you've got a copy of it to listen to. It's easier than reading and doing the exercise at the same time.
Yeah, I've always laughed at visualizations in a book, and it says, here, do this creative visualization.
Yeah.
And it's nice when somebody reads it to you, but it's kind of difficult when you're reading it and trying to do it at the same time.
Completely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is to either do what I just said, and so we're going to use the mechanism on the telephone. I'm speaking French in my head. That's not very helpful. I know the chance now, but either that, or simply by reading it through a few times and then maybe taking notes or not, and then putting it aside, because it's not the steps, but the intention. That is the most important. And anyone who undertakes this particular, for example, on page 79, the connection with Archangel Michael, anyone who undertakes it has been invited. There's no accident in that happening. And so your clear intention is the reason this is going to work, and you can't mess it up. So even if you mess up, you change the order or you forget a step, it's the intention and not the specific steps that makes this so powerful. The specific steps are there to help us as human beings fully experience in a calm way this divine connection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know why I've never asked this question before, but what is the difference between an angel and an archangel?
So when I use the term angel, I'm talking about the presence of source that accompanies us individually. So on a soul level, Marla, the soul that is yours, that has had many lifetimes before and that has traveled through time to be here now as Marla, when you accepted the invitation to come into this lifetime and bring light, excuse me, but you take it or leave it. It's the sense of the strong sense that's here. At that moment, your guardian angels were already there. This was a decision made by the soul and God or source. And the guardian angels kind of go, oh, I'm going with her. That's going to be cool. So the guardian presence is there from the outset of setting the intention that is the mission in this lifetime. So our guardian angels are with us the whole time, whether or not we like it, whether or not we are aware of it. They're there, most of them, because they are not allowed to act against our free will. Most of them on Earth are kind of twiddling their thumbs and waiting for us to wake up to their presence so they can get in the game more actively. Mm-hmm. That is the angelic presence. That it's a guardian presence. It's a watching over. It's the love, eternal love that's with us all the time, even those days where we might not be feeling it. An angel, each of the archangels, is the highest expression of a certain divine quality. So there are 15 that I talk about in the book. Of course, there are not just 15. Yeah. The unlimited source has unlimited qualities, but these 15 are very, very helpful, I find, in day-to-day life. So those are the 15 that I'm proposing. When we call on an archangel, they too do not intervene unless there's a situation where there's the risk of death. And in that situation, an angel can intervene and save the life of somebody if on the soul level, they're not supposed to yet leave Earth. An archangel is not just here for one person, but here for the whole planet, for all people. So anybody who feels the desire, that is the call, the invitation, who feels the desire can call on an archangel. So their roles are different, but it's always source.
Okay. This hour is going by way too quickly. Let's jump in real quick and talk just a little bit about part 3, energy and angelic healing.
Right. So in this energy and angelic healing, there are a couple of rituals in there for working with Michael to free ourselves from energies, so often of others, which pull us downward. So Michael uses his sword to free us, and those are really powerful and very interesting to use. Raphael works on the healing side to bring us back to wholeness and fullness. So I actually have those that I teach in classes. I outline those exercises within the book. And again, it's not a bad idea to say it, tape it, register at some place. And then listen, I know nobody tapes. I'm sorry, I'm dating myself. But the other thing that's in that section, which I think is super important, is that everybody talks about frequency, highs and lows. Even those people like day to day who would scoff at our conversation here and scoff at angels, recognize that there are days when we have highs and when we have lows. It's in our language. This energy ups and downs is already in common language. And if we point to it, more people will be aware of how it's impacting. And of course, now more and more energy vampires, this is becoming a normal usage of the language day to day. What we don't hear about is, okay, if there are highs and lows and we're impacted by other people, how the heck do I protect my energy? And so there is a section in there that talks about not just frequency, but amplitude. Reaching back to high school, this came out of a meditation one day, and it was that it is not just important for us to keep high frequency focus, but to muscle up so that we are not the ones that are being impacted by the energy of others, so that we are the ones that are standing tall and solid and impacting others. So often there are days and there are days, aren't there? There are days that, we're a little shaky, easy to get pulled down. And there are other days where people say, oh my God, you're just such an angel. I feel so much better. And it's, blah, 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 blah. I know that you know what I'm talking about, and probably most of your readers do too. But the idea here is how to stand fast at that high frequency and not be toppled so easily. So I recommend that section, and thank you to the angels for that guidance. It works. And part 3 is super important.
All right. Well, part 4 is the next step, but we're going to leave that hanging because that's a good place to start. You dangle that carrot and just leave it go. So once you get to part 3, then there's the next step. But I just want to say that the book also has connection meditations. It has inner child work, chakra practices, angelic co-creations, and more. We're not even touching the real good stuff in there already, because it really is. But I just want to make sure that everybody knows that there's way more coming. And again, dangling the carrot, but I can't help that. But in the meantime, I think you need to give out your website, first of all, and then let everybody know what they can find there, and maybe some events that are upcoming.
Okay, great. Thank you. So my website is kathrynhudson.fr. It's .fr because I'm in France, and it's Kathryn Hudson, like the river. On it, and it's a work. It's being reworked because I've just left Paris, and I still have a place in the States, but everything is in Breck. I am opening up a retreat getaway center in wine country.
Wow, nice.
In France. In the countryside, so things are shifting and changing. So what that means for people who are in the States is that most of what I'm doing for this year until the end of the year will be at a distance. I'm doing monthly angel parties where we get down and dirty. We're actually doing this energy work every month. The next one's February 18th with Archangel Raphael. We're going to do some self-healing and healing for the planet. And I'm also working individually one-on-one with people around connecting with their angels, life purpose, and transformation. So if any of that sounds interesting, I'm on Instagram. I do angel messages. I was doing them daily for 2 years. Now I'm doing them when the movement comes. But I'm on all the networks. So I'm easy to find if it's meant to be.
Well, that's good, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be looking for you, I think.
What fun. But, more people to play with.
More people what?
To play with.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And maybe, one of these times you'll come back and we can talk about one of the parts. We can talk about healing or stuff, make a whole show out of it rather than having to just, drop it really quick.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being with us today. And again, at some point, I would really actually like to have you come back and just talk about archangels and ascended masters.
Perfect.
I think that's a great thing.
Oh, I would love that. I'll reach out to you, but just want to thank you so much for what you do. It's so important. And I know that I can feel the reverberation of the light into the world. So thank you, Marla.
Well, thank you. And let's also thank everybody that's listening to the podcast as well as the live show. And until next time, everybody, blessed be and merry meet again. Good night.
This has been another edition of Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks. Be sure to tune in next week at the same time for another great guest and more fun. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without permission is strictly prohibited.
You have been listening to the Para X Radio Network.